Before you even hear the first full sentence, you need to know this. You were not forgotten. You were hidden. And there's a difference. A holy difference. If this video found you, it's because the Spirit of God is whispering something your soul has waited a lifetime to understand. So don't scroll. Don't ignore this call. Click subscribe, comment, "I was hidden for a reason," and share this message with someone else who walks in silence but carries fire. Because what you're about to hear is not inspiration, it's confirmation. And your spirit already knows it. You've been kept in the background, misunderstood, excluded, but not because you were unworthy, because you were too powerful to be exposed prematurely. They didn't reject you. They were removed. You cried thinking you were being abandoned. You questioned yourself, convinced you were too much, too intense, too sensitive. But chosen one, that was never the truth. The truth is, God was filtering your circle. There were conversations you were not meant to hear, alliances you were never supposed to form, atmospheres that couldn't handle the weight of your purpose. So heaven stepped in, and while you thought it was isolation, it was consecration. You were not being cast out. You were being sanctified, hidden in the shadow of the Almighty, while your roots grew in silence. And now the roots are strong enough for the rising. What you felt as rejection was really a divine redirection, because God doesn't elevate without preparation, and He doesn't expose without refinement. You were being forged in fire, while the world thought you were just missing. And here's the mystery. While you sat in silence, you were being activated. Dreams were being whispered. Identity was being revealed, and the ones who left, they were never meant to handle your next chapter. They would have contaminated your anointing. That's why they couldn't stay. And now, as you rise with quiet power, the same people who dismissed your silence will be disturbed by your emergence, because heaven hid you until the earth was ready to witness you. This is the part you never heard before. Your hiding was holy. You weren't late. You weren't overlooked. You were being covered, spiritually quarantined, marked for something that needed darkness to grow. And now that the moment has arrived, you're not just stepping out, you're being launched. But don't forget this, your silence was your safety. Every unanswered prayer, every closed door, every time you sat alone while others were celebrated, it was all part of a divine preservation plan. Because what you carry is sacred, and sacred things must be guarded. Chosen one, your season of concealment is over, and your emergence will echo in realms you've never even seen. Have you ever wondered why you never quite fit in? Why every room eventually felt too small, too shallow, too noisy for your spirit? It's because you weren't made to blend in. You were designed to break molds. And the truth is, the places that rejected you weren't rejecting your flaws. They were resisting your light. Your authenticity threatened their illusions. Your presence exposed their pretense. So the doors closed. The conversations stopped. The invitations never came, and it crushed you. But listen to this. God never meant for you to be accepted in spaces that couldn't handle your truth. You weren't excluded. You were extracted, pulled out before your purpose could be diluted. What felt like loneliness was actually spiritual strategy. There were battles happening around your name, in rooms you were never invited into. Spirits of confusion tried to blur your identity. People assigned to distract you tried to keep you small, but heaven didn't let it happen. The silence you lived through wasn't abandonment. It was a shield. God blocked what would have broken you. And while you cried at night, wondering why everything and everyone seemed to vanish, angels were standing guard around your process. You were not being punished. You were being protected from contamination because the oil on your life could not be touched. Not yet. You stopped trying to explain yourself because no one understood you, and that too was on purpose. Your language was meant for the future, the way you feel, the visions you carry, the depth of your emotions, the spiritual hunger you can't shake. It's not something you can translate to the crowd. You are a pioneer, a signal, a prototype. Of course they didn't get you. You weren't made to be understood. You were made to be followed. And soon, the very ones who avoided your presence will come seeking your wisdom. Not because you changed, but because you grew into what heaven always knew you were. Do not let the pain of separation confuse you. Do not let the delay of recognition distort your identity. Heaven chose you before they left, before they misunderstood your heart, before they walked away from your life. And heaven didn't just choose you. It hid you, covered you, developed you in the dark, because what you're about to carry publicly had to be refined privately. And now every unanswered question is being resolved in revelation. Every silent season is turning into a testimony. You were kept for such a time as this, and now that your time has come, no one can stop what God already started. No one saw it happening, not even you. But something inside you shifted during the silence. In the seasons where nothing made sense, when prayers felt unanswered and doors stayed shut, your roots were growing, depth was being formed in obscurity. While others chased platforms, you were being purified. While they sought applause, you were learning to hear heaven in the quiet. And now your foundation is unshakable. Your discernment is sharper. Your authority is real. You were formed in fire, not fashioned for show. And that's what makes you unstoppable. Not your loudness, but your alignment. Have you noticed how rooms feel different when you enter now? It's not pride. It's not arrogance. It's spiritual authority. The same people who used to overlook you now grow silent in your presence. They feel something, even if they can't name it. Your frequency has changed. Your energy no longer adapts to others. It commands attention. You don't shrink anymore. You don't ask for permission. Because the version of you that was hidden has now stepped into the light. And that light, it disrupts. Not because you're trying to, but because truth always shakes illusions. And you, chosen one, are walking truth. They talked while you were silent. They mocked what they couldn't understand. They assumed your quietness was weakness, that your stillness was stagnation. But what they didn't know was that heaven was writing a story inside of you, a sacred script, a divine strategy. And now that the unveiling has begun, they don't know how to react. Some pretend to celebrate. Others keep their distance. But all of them feel it drills the weight of your emergence, because what God built in you cannot be denied. Your presence now reveals their emptiness. Your healing exposes their brokenness. Your fire makes their shadows tremble. You are not late. You are on time, prophetic time. Everything that seemed delayed was preparation. Everything that broke you was shaping you. The betrayals, the goodbyes, the closed doors, the private tears. None of it was wasted. And now you carry something rare, a presence that speaks even when you don't, a peace that confuses the chaos, a light that can't be dimmed, and all of it is evidence. Evidence that the process worked, that hiding worked, that heaven knew exactly what it was doing. You are not just emerging, you are fulfilling, and no resistance can stop it now. Every tear you cried in silence was a key. Every moment you felt invisible was a doorway. The rejection you endured, the confusion you carried, the nights you questioned your worth, all of it was coding. Something in your spirit, a language heaven understands, a signal few can transmit, and now that signal is active, because pain was never just pain. It was a password into deeper access, into spiritual territory, into levels of clarity, discernment, and grace that can't be taught, only lived. You didn't just survive. You unlocked something, and what you unlocked will open doors that no man can shut. While they were watching each other, you disappeared. While they were comparing platforms, you were being reconstructed, and now you re-enter, not as the same person who left, but as a vessel refined by fire. Your absence wasn't a failure. It was an advantage, because in the quiet, you discovered what really matters. You met God in ways you never imagined. You unlearned false identities and absorbed divine truths. And now, you don't need to prove anything. Your presence speaks for itself. Your silence carried revelation, and your re-emergence carries weight. There was a time you tried to be seen, tried to be loved, tried to be understood. You adjusted yourself to fit spaces that were never built to hold you, but not anymore. Now you walk in alignment, not performance. You no longer chase. You attract what's aligned. You no longer explain. You embody. You no longer beg for acceptance. You understand that what's meant for you recognizes you, and what doesn't will never be able to hold the weight of who you are becoming. You stopped trying. You started being, and that shift changed everything. Even before people realize what's happening, the spirit realm already knows. You've arrived. The enemy feels it. That's why the attacks have intensified. That's why old patterns tried to creep back in. That's why strange resistance appears just as you step forward. But don't be shaken. It's not a sign to stop. It's confirmation that you're advancing. The alarms in hell are ringing because heaven's frequency in you is increasing. You are no longer a threat. You are a force. And the spiritual realm is responding to your activation. You walk different, you pray different, you see different, and the shift is undeniable. You used to enter rooms and wonder if you belonged. Now rooms adjust to your presence. It's not ego, it's evidence. Evidence that your spirit has expanded, that your alignment with heaven is tangible. You don't have to speak loudly. You don't have to prove anything. The air around you speaks for you. The stillness you carry shifts. Frequencies, you carry peace like a weapon. You carry truth like a storm. And the very environments that once rejected you are now being changed by you. You are no longer adapting. You are transforming. You've become the thermostat, not the thermometer. There's a reason your path felt harder, a reason why you didn't get the shortcuts others took, because God was preserving your purity. There are anointings that can only rest on hearts that have been emptied of performance, pride, and pretense. And your heart, though broken, has remained teachable, tender, and open to heaven. That's why you couldn't be accelerated by man, because God needed you untouched, uncontaminated, set apart. You weren't passed over. You were passed through a refining fire. And the version of you that stands now isn't just wise, it's holy, and holiness is what sets you apart. Many want what you carry, but they don't want to pay what you've paid. They want the clarity, the peace, the presence, but not the process, not the nights of silence, not the ache of loneliness, not the crushing of ego. But chosen one, heaven saw you stay. Heaven saw you bleed and not curse, saw you lose and still worship, saw you be misunderstood and still love. That's why your anointing is different. It cost you something. You didn't get here by convenience. You got here by covenant. And that covenant is why you are unstoppable now. You are not rising by hype. You are rising by heaven's decree. They couldn't see it. They never saw the depth. They saw the outer shell, the weakness, the wounds, but never the warrior. They misread your silence, misjudged your pause, thought your isolation was your end, but it was your rebirth. And now you stand not with explanation, but with embodiment. You don't tell people who you are, you show them with your peace, with your fire, with your movement, and even those who once doubted you now sit in silent awe, because what they tried to break only bloomed, and you are the living proof of a heaven that hides its greatest weapons until the perfect moment. They'll try to relate to you based on who you were, based on the version they knew, the version that questioned everything, that cried alone, that dimmed their light to be accepted. But that version no longer exists, and when they approach you now, they'll be met with a new frequency, a deeper presence, a more refined energy. You are not hard, you are focused, you are not arrogant, you are aware, you are not distant, you are guarded. Because after everything you've been through, you finally understand. Not everyone deserves access to what God has hidden so carefully. You no longer need to call out fakeness. You no longer need to expose anything. Your presence does it. When you show up, masks fall. When you speak, false motives are revealed. When you move, the atmosphere shifts. And this isn't because you try, it's because you carry truth. And truth disrupts illusions. The clarity you walk in is offensive to those still living in confusion. The peace you carry is unsettling to those surviving on chaos. You are a mirror now, and what they see in you reminds them of what they've neglected in themselves. That's why you were hidden, because now you reveal. Your voice no longer speaks to ears, it speaks to spirits. There is weight behind your words, fire behind your tone, healing behind your silence. And it's because you're not just talking, you're transmitting. Everything in you is aligned with heaven. Every sentence you speak carries intention. You don't waste breath, you don't perform, you release. And that release is why the spiritual realm recognizes you. That's why hell tries to resist you, but it can't stop you anymore. Because now your frequency is fixed, tuned to heaven, unshaken by noise, anchored in purpose. You used to look for signs, for confirmation, for someone to tell you you were on the right path, but not anymore, because now you are the sign. Your life is the evidence. Your journey is the prophecy fulfilled. Your movement is the message, and people will begin to follow it, not because you ask them to, but because they'll feel it. Your very existence will become a signal, a call, a wake-up for other hidden ones, and your emergence will activate others to rise. This is no longer about proving anything. This is about aligning with your divine mission. So now, chosen one, here's what you must do. Comment right now, "I was hidden for a reason." Let it be your declaration, your seal, your reminder that heaven does not waste time. Heaven prepares. And you were not behind. You were being positioned. Share this message with another hidden one. Someone who needs to remember that their silence was not punishment but preservation. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the Chosen Signal, because more is coming. You've emerged from the shadows, and now your presence is prophecy. Your walk is warfare. Your light is not just returning, it's taking territory.